All right, hello, wonderful viewers. Welcome back for yet another pack review. This time we're gonna do the Corp side of the Quorum data pack from the Flashpoint cycle. Our last data pack review to round off the cycle. And joining me today is Shane. Hi, Shane.
Hi.
All right, so before we begin, I'd just like to ask you, what do you think of the cycle thus far? And what are some decks that you have been trying out?
So far, I've liked the cycle. Certainly coming off Mumbad, like a lot of people, I think that was a little bit of a low point. So coming to this cycle, it was fun. The theme was also really good, not just to be another location. You know, those are always interesting, but to have an event tied around it, I think was really interesting. And I think some of the cards played into that well in the theming. So that was good to see. I mean, smaller types of things. I noticed a couple interesting things like influences seem to be a bit off, or at least
Yeah,
from one of the things, or at least now I'm pretty sure I don't understand how influences are done on some of the cards. Like for just things to come an example. I mean, I think everyone thinks that Temujin contract would have been better at 3, possibly even 4, just so it's not everywhere and criminals get the boost they need. Or I think friends in high places at 1 is going to cause some problems,
yep.
um, especially when Wizard, rotates out. So I think that like influence tweaks could have helped a lot there. So obviously that's a hard thing to get right, and maybe they want to make two powerful tools available to everyone, but it kind of goes to a ubiquity that makes the card pool a bit flat, at least in competitive play. And there was a bit of a trend, I think, of kind of really powerful cards coming out, but then really powerful counters coming out soon after, and it was really like a stronger ebb and flow than I'd seen before. For example, like CTM comes out and all the trace stuff, just goes, or trace tag punishment kind of goes bonkers, and then we get some really powerful anti-tag punishment relatively quickly afterwards, which is good. I mean, nobody wants CTM to just be as powerful as it has been forever, but that sort of really spiky up and down on the power curve for some of these decks is
Yeah, for
uh,
sure. Like when
see how
power tap becomes a viable strategy in the current meta, you know that the meta game is pretty warped. Yeah, I mean, I do agree with you on that.
yeah.
Yeah, it's become a lot more polarizing, basically. Yeah, decks are getting more powerful and the counters are getting harder than ever as well.
Yeah,
So
it's one of those things. If you don't have the influence of the deck space for the counter, you can get into more games which are just like, oh, what do I do? Right? I don't have a silver bullet, or I didn't draw it, and then you're kind of
yeah, I guess that's some of the reasoning behind some of the more um, low influence costing for this cycle, so that more people can play these cards. But yeah, I get the fact that being too prevalent, like Temujin being basically in almost every runner deck, is not
hmm.
exactly what you want. But well, we shall see. As for this data pack, let's see what kind of cards we have. Do we have any cards that are on the level of Temujin? We shall see.
I just like that.
Yeah, we'll start off with a HB agenda. It's a 3-1 agenda, therefore it's bad. Your thoughts?
Yeah, that would be my first comment as well. I mean, a 3-1, it's just got so much baggage and such a hill to climb. I'm sure. I was like, when I was making a few notes on these spoilers, I'm like, what are 3-1s that people actually play, right? Like House and Knives in very specific situations,
Yeah.
License Acquisition in Russian NEH, and Chronos in a very specific meta. It's like 3-1s they just have to take those as kind of like the benchmarks and make the 3-1s better than that,
Yep.
just to give people a reason to play it. Like, there's no, I mean, we have a couple. Um, for this to be any good, I think you need basically bioroids which you would play anyway, that are very expensive and very punishing. And we got what, Sherlock 2.0 and Fairchild. Fairchild 3 I don't think is expensive enough to make it worth it.
And
And
the
normal
Fairchild
Fairchild,
4, yeah, it doesn't
yeah,
punish face checks, so yeah.
yeah, it doesn't punish face checks. So yeah, they didn't get any extra stuff, and the current bioroid pool didn't support
Yeah, so
this agenda at all. So
yeah, if we so speaking of the ability, let's completely ignore the fact that it's a 3-1 agenda for now. Let's just look at the ability and stack it up with what other things HB has in faction, like ABT, Vitruvius. How does this ability compare to the other agendas that we have so far?
I mean, yeah, you'd have to. unless you're willing to put Janices in your deck and not be Blue Sun,
Yeah.
I don't see you can't harm them enough.
No, I completely agree with you on that one. Like, I'm trying to think of how you can use this ability to your advantage. The problem is because you have to derest the Bioroid at the end of your turn, and it's not like there's some Corp site scavenge or something that allows you to cheat Bioroids into play.
That's true, yeah. Or
Yeah,
even just it's one Agenta counter. I mean that.
exactly.
I mean, you give it a few more, like 3 times you could. Well,
Yeah,
3 times might be too
it's
much,
so
but
pitiful. Yeah,
yeah,
I mean, like, who plays Howler, right? And Howler is not even good. Why would this be good? So yeah,
yeah,
I feel like this is a waste of cardboard, but oh well.
yeah. And it duplicates. It's not like it's a novel ability, right? There's Howler, and there's also that really old trap that nobody also plays. I can't remember the name of with the 3 faces coming out.
Is it Awakening Center? The
It's Awakening Center, yeah.
man, yeah,
Which is
no one
sort of a
plays that.
silly thing,
Nope.
yeah.
I mean, yeah, yeah. The only really reason I would think of even slotting this agenda into my deck is if my entire meta consists of Diaper. It is a pretty good counter to Diaper because it
It's
lasts for
true.
the entire turn, so it screws
Yeah.
up the entire big Diaper turn. But otherwise, this is just
Yeah, they have to be running. Oh, wait a second. Do they have to? Okay, so here's a small thing.
yeah.
So doesn't they don't necessarily have to be running, right? So you could get your Architects of Tomorrow um, cost
Yes.
reduction
Um,
without them running.
the problem with Architects, I thought it works with
The
Architects.
many problems with Architect.
Is that the runner needs to pass the ice.
Oh, you're right. Yeah, so you can't
Yeah,
even do
I
that.
thought it works with Architect as well. Then I realized they have to pass it. So
Yeah.
even if you do it, like I thought you could do it on your turn to get double Architect fire, but no, you have to do it while they're running if you want to get the Architect's fire. So yeah, nice try, but
Not
no
even.
cigar this time.
Yeah.
All right, I think we spent way too long on this
Yeah, that's
terrible
true.
thing. What
Longer
about
than
this?
anyone will ever have it on the table. We just been talking about
No,
it.
no. Um, all right, this one, Violet Level. It's been spoiled quite a while back, and it seems pretty powerful. I like that they're continuing with the theme of the green level, blue level, and now this. But unlike those two, I wouldn't be slotting them in the same deck.
Yeah. Well, it's just so to me. It seems that the range of decks it goes into is so narrow. Can it really go into anything but CI?
Yeah, I don't think so. I mean, especially because it's terminal and it's a draw
Terminal, yeah.
four. You basically have to discard at the end of your turn if you're not CI.
Exactly. So it's for CI decks, which are, some people have big problems with them. I'm not a fan, but I can see they have a place. It's just a card specifically for that deck, essentially. So, I mean, as an overall HP fan, I'm like, wasted card.
Yeah, same. But for CI, it does enable quite a bit. Like, it is really, really powerful card draw. It gets through your deck like no other.
Oh, and then get rid of the restructures, right? Sometimes that they have troubles with
I guess you
early.
could.
Well, they may or may not, but I mean, it's a
Yeah.
replacement for that.
Yeah,
Or
I
even
don't.
green.
I don't exactly know what they'll swap out for Violet levels. It could be the restructures. Agreed. I'm not sure how much money they need. I guess they could use the restructures, but yeah. Seeing the newest iteration of CI would be interesting. I'd like to know what they swap out for Violet level.
Do you have any thoughts on why it has a trash cost? Like, it's another thing I don't understand along with influence now is what gets trash cost and what doesn't get trash cost.
It almost. I mean, people make this joke. It starts with, the amount of influence that IDs have. There's this joke that, somewhere in the FFG headquarters they have a spinner wheel. Every time they make a new ID, they just spin it. Oh, 15. Okay. Oh, 17. Okay, this one gets 17. Oh wait, it's near hub.
Yeah, they get a special one for yellow that only has.
That has 17 like on half the slots. Yeah. But yeah, I guess it's the same with trash cost stages. Yeah. Like, people have been complaining hard hitting news should be the card with trash costs, not
Yeah.
something like Violet level. But well, it is what it is.
Yep.
Yeah.
I don't think it matters much one way or the other. Although, medium. I don't know if medium needs any help to get deeper nowadays. But
Yeah, the interesting thing against CI is that a lot of the time, it's very hard to win against CI because during your medium digs, you're not getting extra accesses because you can't trash stuff. You can't trash anything from the deck except for Jackson's.
right.
Violet level is something extra you can trash, which could change things. But yeah, it's pretty minor. All right, so. Ooh, okay, now we get into the interesting cards. This is Shiashi. This is a huge barrier. We've been getting a couple of big barriers this cycle, but well, they're in yellow, and yellow already has some pretty good ice.
Yes. Yeah.
Now, Jinteki is aching for some good barriers, and guess what? We have a barrier, but is it good? Is it?
Well, certainly, yeah, like you, definitely with the cycle, I've noticed there's some really quality big ice that they've been putting out. And I guess this falls into this, although I wouldn't, quality is not the adjective I would use. It's good to see more anti-AI ice. The more the better, I think,
Yeah,
given
definitely.
some of the really powerful AIs, but it's so expensive. And now we have paperclip, like a 7 for, at best a 7, that they'll have ice cover and suckers and stuff like that.
Yeah.
A 7 tax for 12 is
I
not
mean,
good enough, and
yeah.
trash the top two cards is. I mean, I know you love the potatoes and it could help, but it's only going to be effective in potatoes, really.
Yeah, I mean, it's a nice bonus in potato. I mean, whether you are playing potatoes or not. The thing with this ice is that it's really all about the face check. I know it has an end run on it, but it really is all about the face check. Otherwise, it really is not worth it paying 12 credits for
Yep.
8 strength ice. I mean, you look at Curtain Wall. No one plays it outside of Blue Sun. For a very good reason. And same with this. It's just too much to pay for a single end run. So you really need to get something out of the 4 net damage. Speaking of which, this is the first piece of ice that deals 4 net damage. I mean, not counting like Komainu, which cannot
I know.
actively flatline you. So this is actually quite important. This means that you cannot run with only 3 cards against a rich Jinteki player. So that changes a bit. So it's
Well,
interesting seeing them pushing this design, so yeah, design barrier. Like usually ice shouldn't deal more than 3 net damage if they can
well the
actively flatline you, and this changes it. Yeah.
the memory one does as well, right? It can.
Oh yeah, yeah. Cortex
Suddenly
lock.
can't remember
Yeah,
it. Cortex lock. But yeah, it's very situational and goes in.
yeah.
Yeah,
Thanks for
it's
reminding.
funny you mentioned Blue Sun. I think if this is going to see any play, it probably might see more play in Blue Sun. It was a bigger deal before when Double Fork was bigger, but you wanted that spiky ice
Yep.
so they couldn't just face check and David
Hmm.
knife it sort of thing. But are you going to import this or are you going to import? Suddenly forgetting all the names. DNA tracker.
Yeah.
So I would think probably DNA tracker. I don't know.
I
Yeah, there's
there's a
just too much destruction to be paying 12 ice with.
Okay, so there are two very big differences between DNA and this. Firstly, this is 12 res opposed to 8 for DNA tracker. So it
Yep.
is a lot better for oversight AI. And I think the biggest thing is, secondly, it's only costs 2 influence. So you can actually buy 3 of these. Or you can buy 2
Yep.
and save 2 influence for, I don't know, Seesaws or something. So I would be a lot more compelled to run Chiashi in Blue Sun compared to DNA tracker now. I know
I
that
guess, but then all you would have is barriers, which
that
I
is
suppose
true.
is the taxing thing nowadays. But
But the thing is, if you think about it, there are no good barrier breakers right now. Exception Paperclip. Obviously, Paperclip's really good.
yeah.
But if they're paying 7 to get past a Chiashi every time, yeah, that's pretty good. I
Oh,
don't
sure.
mind
If you,
that.
yeah, if you can get them to actually do it more than once. It's almost, I wish looking at this card and the AI, and it might, people might complain too much, the AFS players, but if it was due 2 net damage if there was an AI installed, and then you had a real threat of a flat line, right?
That
So if you're
would
running
be
with Faust,
crazy strong. Crazy
well,
strong.
it's 12. I mean, it's supposed to be.
Yeah, but I don't know. I think it can wall out. It basically. I mean, at least this is reasonable for AI players to play around. Like
Mhm.
you are going to be negatively affected by the trash 2 of the stack. But if it's 2 net damage, you
Oh, it's 2 cards per sub.
per
Sorry, I
sub,
missed that.
yes, per sub.
Ah,
So
okay,
I
well,
can't spend 6 net damage to
yeah,
break it
yeah,
each
yeah. Yeah.
time. That's
No, I
ridiculous.
sorry. Yeah, no, I take that back. That'd be way worse.
Yeah, although
No, I thought it was on encounter for
yeah,
some
if it's
reason.
on
Yeah.
encounter as you said, then yes, I think
Okay,
that's
this is
reasonable. I think
significantly better now. Still probably not good enough to make a lot of decks, but
it's actually pretty crazy. Like
pretty good.
if I'm double forks and I want to knife this Chiashi, I have to mill 6 cards.
Hmm.
Whether I'm using David or Faust, assuming I have a Faust installed. That's nuts. That's really
Oh yeah, if
nuts.
you had a Faust, it would be what? Six cards out of your hand, and the knife, and 6 cards from your stack. That would be like a quarter of your deck almost.
Pretty much, yeah. I mean, this ice is not something to be messed around with.
Yeah, I suppose now that Levy's the influence has been taken away to play Levy, it's more significant.
Yeah. But yeah, as you said, this is we are really talking about this in the context of Blue Sun, simply because you can res it with Oversight and all the big money you get from Oversight.
Yep.
I do not expect to see this played in Jinteki. It's just too expensive, as you said. All right. Another Jinteki card. This one is something along the lines of Precognition. Like it, you get to see the top 5 cards of your stack, R&D. But instead of rearranging them in an order of your choosing, you get to install one of those cards in a remote server instead. So anything that goes inside a remote server can be tossed in there. And it's a Yume, so you don't have to install an agenda if you don't want to. It's a terminal as well, so must be noted that there are no accelerated diagnostics combos available. So this is really about just deep digging through your stack to find some key upgrade or key asset, I suppose, or a key agenda that you want. Not an agenda, I would suppose, because it's terminal, and most of Jinteki's agendas are at least 4 to advance, so it's a bit awkward to leave an unadvanced agenda in the remote. So
Sure.
basically what I'm saying is this card is probably going to be used to dig for cards like Caprice, Betty, cards that you can't really tutor up normally, but I don't think it's strong enough for that use. Do you have any
I
other ideas?
completely agree because Caprice is the only one I could really think of. Like even Batty, I guess in a very specific deck. Caprice is the only one I think of that you need so badly, to start your scoring. But you
Yeah.
don't get to rearrange the cards. It's like I said, it's terminal, and you could just use I mean, if you wanted, it's a little influence, but you could use like Executive Search Firm, or there's another one that goes for admin specifically, right? If you really
Yeah,
need that.
recruiting
This
trip.
card, I just don't know what deck it's for.
Yeah, I mean, I wouldn't underestimate the value of knowledge of your deck. The fact that you get to install Caprice and see and know what the next 4 cards are coming. I think that's pretty good. But
Mhm.
yeah, as you said, it's very narrow use. There are other cards that do this as well, and I don't. And this is not reliable.
I mean, ironically, when you're really desperate and you're willing to pay a credit to go find something specific, it's usually ice, right? When you just really need that ice to
You're
put
not
over
wrong.
R&D.
You really are not wrong. I would agree with
Yeah.
you on that. And I would rather play Agroplex if I really want to dig for something.
hmm
Oh well. Well, maybe someone will make this work, but I'm not too optimistic on this.
Oh, I thought of another for the
Oh,
Chirasi. The mutate decks that are everywhere. You need got another solid target for your mutate deck.
yeah, that's true. I guess you could use mutate. Yeah, you could accomplish lots at once. Find a Caprice, get a mutate off, and yeah.
Oh, but mutate also for the Chirashi, if I'm saying it that correctly.
Oh, yeah. Look at that. We can mutate this big bad boy. I like that. I'm not sure if you really want to mutate Chiashi. Yeah, as we mentioned, we really want the face check
You want
punishment
a
of
face
this.
check, that's true. Yeah.
Yeah, so I mean, knowing that Cypher's gonna come out and knowing that knife is still a thing, I wouldn't play a mutate deck right now. But
No,
it's a good idea. I'll give you that. All right. Oh, yellow card. It must be good. Net quarantine. It actually is pretty good. When I saw it, I
it
was
is.
going on UK Slack and going like, how is this not broken? And I mean, since then I realized, yeah, it's not broken, but it's still pretty good. So, let me sell my case to you.
Mhm.
There is this thing called ambient glacier. No one knows what it is. It's somewhere out there, but no one plays it because everyone's running rabbit holes and power tabs right now.
Yep.
The problem with NBN Ice in a Glacier deck is that they are mostly tracers, so you automatically lose to anything with Link. Now this agenda changes things. If you have this agenda in your score area, the runner's link does not matter for the first trace. That matter. That's very important. And if they attempt to boost the trace to beat you, guess what? You're going to get a partial refund. So if yeah, I like it. This is pretty good. Um, and it's also very good for those big tracers like hard hitting news, mid seasons. If you have this agenda and you toss out one of these big operations that the runner is basically forced to match your trace, even if you're not richer than them, even if they are able to match your trace, it's fine because if they dump credits to match the trace, you are going to get a refund So if you are doing a trace 10, for example, and they spend 10 credits to match your trace, you're getting 5 credits back, so that you can use them in your next trace. It's actually pretty cool. I like it.
Yeah, no, I agree with you. I think it is a good card. Um, Strangely, the argument I would make about it not being broken is because there's so many other good yellow cards that people won't play this per se. But yeah, no, I think it is definitely a good 2 for 4 agenda, like the type of power level that a 2/4 should be. For a long time, 2/4s just weren't that good, and we had 3/2s, which are going to rotate out, but to play over top of them. But with the corporate sales team and advanced concept hopper, and I'm probably forgetting some good 2/4s that have come out recently. They it's starting to get some 2/4 agendas that are worth playing, and I think this is one of them. I mean, it makes a few things like hard hitting news is even better now, and there's not much of a counter to it when because it's each turn, right? So even on the Corp's turn, they want to fire it.
Yes, it is. It is each turn. So yeah, not only is that link reset for that hard hitting news or the mid seasons. If they try to beat the trace, they'll have to give. I mean, you get credits in return.
Yep.
Speaking of which, you mentioned that this is a 4/2, and I think that's really relevant. So, NBN decks have never really liked using 4/2s at all.
Other than to get 5 credits. Right?
Yes, I was gonna say that exactly. That doesn't count because they are not scoring the agenda. So, scoring a 4/2 is actually really tricky in NBN. In horizontal decks, it's practically impossible to guarantee that you score this agenda, which is a problem because you really want its effect. So, I don't think it will actually see much play in existing NBN archetypes. So something like your CTM, something like a sync deck, whether it's a kill sync or a biotic sync, I don't think this will come into play because it's too difficult to score it. As odd as it sounds.
When Beal rotates out, maybe.
When Beal
Explode is still there, but so maybe Explode will take all of those slots, but
yeah, I think you rather play defensive agendas or things that do something when the runners steals them. It's still really I mean, if you think of the NBN win conditions right now, besides flatline, you have psychographics, you have exchange, and you have fast advance. And this 4/2 agenda doesn't fit in any of these domains. So yeah, scoring agendas is actually really, really hard, and this is why a lot of corps seem very unviable right now, because if you are not fast advancing, you basically can't really score agendas. And this is no exception. So I'll be interested to see how people make this work. It might be possible to do something really janky, like fast advance a breaking news and exchange it for a stolen net quarantine. That gets you somewhere.
No,
yeah,
you're
that's a good
forgetting
start.
the Media Blitz. Media Blitz deck.
Media Blitz, yes, it's jank, but that's definitely something worth considering. So yes, there are going to be ways to get this net quarantines effect up. It's not going to be an agenda that will easily be scored, but has a very strong effect, strong enough that you would definitely consider playing this in some sort of NBN Glacier Shell. Like a New Angela Soul deck would appreciate this. So basically what I'm trying to say is I like his design. Corps need help with scoring 4/2 agendas. That's still a problem. But given that it's a 4/2 agenda, this has a pretty powerful ability. Powerful enough that I can justify inserting it in some decks. So that's good. Alright. Another yellow card. Is this a good card? Nah.
No.
Nah.
I think this officially puts the label of not very good on all these Joshua Lice. Like that the whole sort of at least set. I don't know if they're going to be, if this was just a one cycle thing, or there's going to be more of them.
I don't know. I think Sapper is decent.
They're all pretty bad.
Sapper
Sapper is the best one.
Yeah.
I definitely will agree with that. It has an ability that actually hurts
Yep.
the runner. Like this one is, it's. I mean, no early. Is it early premiere? Is the other thing that advances cards?
I think so. Yeah.
I mean, there's, and I think there's even another card that does it.
Matrix
and people
Analyzer
don't play that.
from long
Yeah,
ago.
Matrix Analyzer. People don't play those.
No, it's basically in the wrong faction. It's the completely wrong color pie. Like if this were a Wayland card, I would consider it. like two free advancement tokens. Okay, it's not free, but two clickless advancement tokens is nothing to scoff at.
Yeah, or yeah, and I mean, if you were playing the advanced ice and stuff like that, yeah, that can definitely see it.
But yeah,
And
wrong
it's just
faction.
it's too easy to break, really. Even
And
if there's
yeah.
what if this was a good ability, a one strength code gain. Okay,
I didn't realize how ridiculous it was until you said it out. One strength code gate. Goodness, this is pathetic. I mean, it might as well be zero strength at this rate. What doesn't break it? Honestly.
yeah, and the
Uh,
trashable aspect of ice. I mean, I think most players will agree. There's already too many trash. Like it's too hard to keep your ice on the table, as it
yeah.
were. So giving everyone a an ability you very easily get rid of your ice. You just can't. You can't play it in a corp deck.
Yeah, and in typical NBN decks, it's just hilarious how completely irrelevant these subroutines can be. I mean, gain 2 is okay, but
Mhm.
I'm not spending an entire deck slot on gain 2
Yeah,
and trashable. And
I
the
mean,
rest cost is, I mean, it sounds weird, but at 2 rest cost, this is overpriced. You
yep,
compare it to like your Gura or Quandary, I'd much rather have those code gates.
definitely. And I mean, back there was a deck. I think the common name for it was Hobo NEH. That was Trick of Light NEH.
Oh, yeah, yeah.
So maybe if that was ever resurrected. But
And I love me some Trick of Light NEH, but I'm not playing this card in that deck. That's how bad this card is.
uh,
Well, at least we've dispelled the myth, not all yellow cards are good. Now let's move on to bad cards, Wayland cards. Pretty synonymous, but again, this dispels the myth. This seems like a pretty good card considering that it's Wayland.
yep,
We have a 4 res sentry, so immediately we think of Errand Boy. It's
yep,
basically similar. You have 3 subroutines. It has to do with gaining credits for the Corp. It's sentry. It's low strength, so both are rather vulnerable to Parasite, but I think Veritas just has the added punch, the added oomph. Like, 2 credits as opposed to 1 for each subroutine is quite a big deal. And not to mention the tag trace at the end of it. Hurting.
yeah. But I mean, speaking of yellow, yellow's a favored place in the in the pie.
Netrunnerverse?
Why? Yeah, such a low trace. Trace 2.
Yeah,
It seems so ineffectual. Like 3 or 4 just seems much more appropriate. I mean,
I would agree. Like, Trace 2 used to be fine. Like, Caduceus, okay, Caduceus Trace 3, but I mean, Trace 2 is okay, until people start playing Link.
yeah.
Only when, like, in the current climate, does it start looking really bad. But I think Trace 2 is, for the most part, okay. You certainly don't want to res it against, like, Power Tap Andy. That would suck. But, yeah,
Yeah, then you want to get a black marker and just scrub out the third, sub. But
yeah, like, this is the... I mean, yeah, that's the problem with this Trace 2. It's worst against Power Tap Andy. I mean, it actually makes this ice a liability against Power Tap Andy because they can just gain 3 on the trace, take the tag, and then shake the tag with Citadel. So that's the only problem I have with Veritas. Otherwise, it's really good. A 4 credit swing that recovers your 4 credit investment to this ice, and 3 subroutines, making it really taxing for anyone that doesn't run ice destruction. I like it.
yeah, and even with the ice struck, I mean, we were talking about Blue Sun before, which
Yeah,
I think is the premier sort of Wayland ID. I mean, if you don't
without a
want to
doubt.
Garrett
Yes.
Garrett acid spam it. The 2 is that I found when I'm playing Blue Sun. 2 is significantly better than 1, more than you would think, simply because it gives you that more of a chance, and if Grimoire's out, to get your ice back if it's parasited.
Yes, that's a very good point. It also requires that many more Data Sucker tokens, which is
Yep.
always relevant against Blue Sun. Agreed. Yeah, so yeah, so basically, if there's any deck that wanted to run Errand Boy but didn't in the end because it didn't really make the cut, this should definitely get you thinking. I can see this being played in a fair few Wayland decks. It's nothing new. It's not like standout piece of ice, but always a solid choice. I guess the only thing is that it's gonna compete with Sapper, as the Mimic Gear check, and Sapper does a better job of Mimic Gear checking, lower costs and a more relevant subroutine. So
Mhm.
that's probably that's probably
Wow.
what will keep Veritas out of a
And
lot
that
of
third
decks.
subroutine makes it gingerbread vulnerable, right? So
Yes, for that strong gingerbread meta that is gonna come very soon. Oh dear, brace yourselves. Hello, Brian Stinson. This has been spoiled for a while, and oh gosh, this is. I mean, going back to what you said at the intro, talking about huge power swings and upping the power level, the ability to play a restructure for 15 credit gain. Woo, man, that's sweet.
yeah, definitely. Good trash cost. I mean, the fewer than 6 of credits is. It's part of this whole set of cards, and I think
Yeah.
this is probably the best one of that set.
Nah, I think
You like the Manta,
no,
the grid?
observe and destroy is clearly the best because it's in the faction
Oh,
with
right.
closed accounts.
Yeah,
Yeah, I mean it can't be helped.
right.
I mean
Oh, observers. Oh, I forgot about that one. That one's one of the fewer than 6
yeah, but it's not
credit.
an upgrade,
Ah.
so
Oh,
yeah.
it's not an upgrade. Okay. Oh, okay, yeah, no, that's true. Definitely.
Yeah, but yeah, as you said, that is basically the main thing you think about when playing this card. How do I get around this very odd restriction that only NBN can really get around very well with closed accounts?
Yes, and has in the right after Blood Money came out, then it was a whole different world, right? It's trying to keep the run under 6 is extremely difficult.
Yeah, I'm not sure about you, but I've been seeing this blue card involving some sort of bird and gaining lots of cash. Pretty good.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm not sure how you actually get this to fire if you're not turn 1 Grindel or something. Speaking of which, it's really really good in turn 1 Grindel if you get it set up. Turn 1 something like restructure, install Brian, rest Brian, and then click him for 15 credits. So suddenly you're on what? 30 credits.
30 credits. That's true. That is true. Huh. I never thought about that. That'd be a fun first turn for Grendel, but the
Yeah,
rest of the
it's
game
like
probably
turn 1
wouldn't be.
sweeps
The rest of the
against
game
any.
wouldn't be that much fun for you.
No,
I
it
don't
wouldn't. Good luck with your 10 influence.
think.
In today's world, that's not gonna cut it. But yeah, it just seems like a very big card to gamble with if you're playing this because it really is very runner dependent, and there's no good way in Wayland of taxing the runner. I don't think. So yeah, I mean, people will try to build decks around this. I think we'll see quite a surge on it on Jinteki.net as we always will. But right now, I just can't see any viable way to play this competitively. Any ideas from your side?
No, nothing. I mean, sometimes you just gotta like burn through Plascretes and stuff with Boom, but the fewer than 6 is just gonna make that so hard because they'll just be sitting back taking money. So
Yeah, yeah, can't really. Yeah, maybe one day when we get some card that forces credits from the runner, something that you can place advancement counters on, and then you can use a click to make them lose 4 credits per advancement counter on it. That would be pretty good.
that would be pretty good.
I wonder which faction would need it the most.
Yeah.
Probably not Ambient, right? Since they have close accounts
No,
already.
definitely not.
Right?
They have closed accounts already.
Oh. Yeah. So yeah,
That's one influence. It's only one influence, I think. But
yeah. So long story short, this is why you can't play Manta Grid or Nihongai Grid or this. You basically have to splash for yellow cards while doing so. It's sad, but that's the truth. Now, what about this one? NASX. It's a paid campaign with an additional money gaining ability tacked onto it. So it's very convoluted, but to explain it in the simplest way, the more money cards you have, the better. Pretty much.
revolutionary netrunner concept. Yeah, this one. I mean, it's a good card, definitely. I mean, Pad Campaign's a good card. Pad Campaign doesn't see a ton of play nowadays because there's better alternatives, but it still does. And Wizard exists. I mean, when Wizard goes away, Pad Campaign might come back even in HB and stuff. But yeah, it's strange that they decided to design a card that was basically Pad Campaign a little bit better.
Yeah, it almost fits the definition of strict power creep, rendering a previous card
I mean,
obsolete.
You would never have 3 Pad Campaigns and not this. Like you might take out one of the, like, at the very worst, you look at that, go, okay, I'll take out one pad campaign and put this in. Like that is a
Yeah.
no downside swap,
But I
right?
guess that's pretty good as well. I mean, the fact that it is unique actually means that people won't just play three NASX and
Oh yeah,
retire their
sure.
all pack campaigns which just came out
Yeah,
for the SC season. That would be sad. But yeah, at least pack campaigns will definitely still see play. You can't play three of these cards because you can't have multiple of them res at once. So that's
well,
good.
I mean, you could, in a way, you could, like you say, two of inside, and I wasn't even thinking people would play two of, but it is a bit of a, it raises an interesting thing in game, I think, where, I mean, some runners will just have the ability to just trash everything, bad campaigns included. But for the ones that don't, I mean, and who normally, there's a whole, I think, class of decks that don't trash pad campaigns. Like, generally speaking, they would never trash a pad campaign because they just don't have the relevant money.
Yeah.
But here, I mean, you're going to, as soon as the counters get, I don't even know, but at some point there's going to be enough counters on that doesn't matter. You're going to trash it,
Oh
right?
hell yeah! The moment there counters on this thing, it's getting trashed. Even if I'm smoke, like I'm getting that thing.
Yeah.
Um,
So in that case, if it's unique, I mean, you know they're going to trash it. I mean, you can always just put out another one, right? So two of, I guess, isn't as unlikely as I thought.
yeah, I mean, but the main thing is you are losing your investment. You have to pay credits from your own pocket as the corp if you want to place power
Oh, that's
counters
right.
on
Yeah,
it.
yeah, yeah,
So
yeah, yeah, yeah.
basically, I don't see anyone keeping this on the table for with power counters after the corp turn. Like you
Yeah.
can't you can't expect the runner not to trash it because you are paying money out of your own pocket. So basically the second ability, the one where you place power counters, is basically something that you cash in a single big turn. So hypothetically, let's say if you have a hedge fund in your hand and three pack campaigns running. So the three pack campaigns will trigger this ability three times, and playing the hedge fund on your turn will trigger it a fourth time. So you get four triggers on this. You can put up to 8 power counters on it and then cash it all in. That is sort of a hypothetical
Yeah.
great scenario for using your NASX. I would not expect any corp to gamble and keep the NASX out for another turn to get another three pack campaign triggers. It just screams trash me.
Yes, exactly. Yeah, that's true. If it gets that big, I was thinking, and maybe an RP might be the best
Yes.
place for defense of it because later in game it can be quite expensive and they just maybe can't.
I would think it's
So,
Gagarin, because Gagarin
eh,
easily has the most drip
drip
assets.
stuff.
Like this
Yep.
this combos very well with drip assets because you don't need clicks to trigger its ability. So things like Commercial Bankers Group,
Commercial.
Expo
Yep.
Grid, yeah, and subliminal messaging. All these trigger
Mm.
NASX for big money. Yeah, I think this card. I put it in the notes there. It is most open to misplay. I find it pretty funny because if you're trashing this card to, if you're cashing it, if you're cashing this card in, it means that you no longer gain the pack campaign effect.
Hmm.
So I think a lot of runners will be vulnerable to cashing it a bit too early, when keeping it on the table is actually better because keeping it on the table probably would produce more payout.
Yep, that's true.
So it'll be quite interesting to see people misplay this card. Like, oh, if I left this NASX on the table for 10 more turns, I would have gained more credits. But yeah,
Yeah. So
yeah,
it's interesting. It is a more sophisticated pad campaign. Like it opens up more different gameplay options and avenues and stuff. So actually, I'm warming up during our conversation to this card. I, I think maybe they did a better job than I initially thought with it.
yeah. I mean, it works just like a real life stock exchange, right? You need to know when to cash in your stocks and when to keep them. Speaking of which, the team is really good on this card.
Yeah.
Like it perfectly embodies what a stock exchange is like. Not in the buy low sell high sense, but getting the timing right, and that is actually pretty nuanced. Yeah. So basically, this basically replaces one of your pair campaigns if you're playing pair campaign in your deck as it is. Although it does die to rumor mill, that's something worth noting.
Oh.
Oddly enough.
Yeah. Add it to the list.
Yeah. So one of the reasons why it isn't a strict upgrade over pair campaign, but yeah,
Right. Right.
most of the time you can safely replace one pair campaign with this. I wouldn't play two of it unless there are lots of drip econ in your deck, like a Gagarin deck.
Mhm.
So yeah, that's NASX for you. Let's move on to the penultimate card of the cycle, one with the heart shape. endorsed by both myself and Shane here. This is Macrophage. It's a 3 res cost for 7 strength ice, therefore it's good. Yeah.
Oh, absolutely. I mean that. I keep looking at the 7 and re-looking at it and really not
That is a
believing it.
good number to see. Like it just makes me feel so good seeing that 7 in the bottom left corner.
Absolutely.
Fantastic.
Yeah. It might be the Archangel. I'm just trying to think of that ice that have a cost to strength ratio.
Archangel sucks. It's 1 more to res and 1 less strength. That's
It
bullshit.
sucks. Gutenberg, I guess, is 2/6.
It is
This might be
2/6. Yeah.
Yeah.
But does Gutenberg have 4 subroutines?
No,
There we go.
absolutely not.
There we go. So
Although, do you want to play this against Power Tap Andy though? But
oh. Gain 3, gain 3, gain 3, gain 3. Oh dear. Yeah, so basically there's a little list of cards where which Macrophage really hates. And these are the jankiest cards you ever hear of. One of them is Power Tap, which is in itself janky. Another one that I came up with is Panchatantra, because when you encounter this ice and you change Macrophage into a virus, the Macrophage eats itself. If you let the second subroutine fire, the Macrophage eats itself and it disappears. It's amazing.
so yeah, I guess if there's no other viruses on the table, okay.
Yeah, that's true. There need to be no other viruses on the table.
Which in a patch texture deck there isn't going to be. Clot, they're really unlucky.
Yeah, another one of those best gen cards is what's that called? Fester, the one that
Fester.
forces you to lose 2 credits on each purge. If you notice,
Yeah.
this purge is not optional, so you're gonna lose this money as the Corp. Better pump it into the trace while you can. So yeah, Macrophage can be the best and worst of ice at times, but when it's the best, it really is. This is an alternative to CVS, and I think it is really well printed. We definitely very direly needed a CVS alternative, because for the longest time I've been playing at least a copy of CVS in all my Corp decks just because double medium decks are so strong.
Yes.
And
Single
this is the
medium.
perfect response to that.
Yeah, no, it's great. I mean, the Anarchs don't run Link generally, so it's going to
Exactly.
hurt.
Yep.
For I can see them now. Even Eddie, even more popular to rebirth into Eddie Kim to get that Link.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, I mean the one downside, not downside, but of course the Anarch situation. I love to see this card because I think everyone knows around me. I can go on some pretty big rants about how out of control the Anarchs are, but now you'll need to run 2 because of course they're going to rebirth into Omar on you. But
That's true.
it's still no, it's a great piece of ice. It's so taxing. I can't see anyone really breaking it realistically, hardly ever.
Yeah, I mean, the good news is that most runners that are not Anarch don't really care about this ice, so
Yep.
this is what's stopping it from become completely broken. As the Corp, you can just choose not to res it against, Andromeda.
Yep.
While it still does heavy lifting against Anarchs, which typically don't run a lot of ice destruction in the form of, trashing it off the top of R&D using Imp or Wanton Destruction. We are not seeing that much of that now, so...
Yeah, blackmail en passant will be the main way that it unfortunately gets
That is true. Yeah,
booted,
Blackmail
right?
en passant is a problem. Otherwise, if this ice gets res against Anox, they are not getting past the server anymore. Spoon into this is a problem because it has 4 subroutines. 7
Yeah.
strength is a big ball ache for anyone running Faust, or any breaker for that matter.
Yeah, I mean with that whole what's the typical name of it? I mean Temujin Wizard or Regas Wizard or something like that. I mean once they get the carvers and all that sort of thing up, it's possible.
But
With
still
two
really
Data Sucker?
expensive. I mean,
It takes a long time. It
For-
takes a long time to
It
get rid of a
does.
3-cost ice. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly.
No,
The
I think
fact that
that's
it's
a very
3 costs-
minor vulnerability.
yeah, those 3 credits that are spending into this ice will go a very long way to defending your R&D. It's lovely.
It definitely is. The only thing I'm greedy when it comes to HP. It'd be nice if that trace was a trace too, just so it's not so irrelevant against every other like non-virus deck. But
The end run,
yeah, at the end of the run was the trace too.
I see. That would be, yeah. I could see that.
But they definitely have the 4-3-2-1 theme going. So
Yeah, it would break that. And also, it seems to me pretty strong if it's played in making news. If its base trace were any higher than one, it would
Okay.
be a bit
Do we have any
difficult to get
idea
past.
what the influence is on this one? Because that
Um,
would be interesting.
yeah, that would be interesting. I
Because I
would
want it to be one, right?
I
Obviously, you
would
want this
really
to
really
be
hope
one.
it's zero. If it's one, I would be a very sad puppy. I'm not really splashing
Well,
one
it's
influence for
HB
this.
ice, right?
Oh, HB, right. If you're talking about a HB context, sure, one, why not?
Yeah, because it's not neutral, right? Sometimes I mix up my colors. This is
Oh,
this is an HB ice.
this particular ice, not a
Yeah.
hypothetical one. This is a
Oh no
neutral
no.
ice. This
Oh, it
is
is.
neutral.
Oh, okay.
Just like CVS, it is
Great.
something that's meant for all the corps.
Okay.
Yeah,
Ah, super.
I'm not sure how much influence it is. I hope it's zero. If it's one, as
Oh,
I
I hope
said,
so too. Yeah, I hope so too. I hope it is not.
yeah.
Got
Okay.
any- got it.
Other more fun interactions with macrophage. You can put sub boost on this. Ooh, that'd
Yeah.
be scary.
Yeah. So that's great. Sub boost. Awesome.
So yeah, so suddenly you have a 3 res, 7 strength and the run. That's pretty cool. Although I'm not a big fan of it because it gains the barrier subtype as well. So now you're giving the runner 2 ways to break it. But yeah, it's gonna be really really taxing nonetheless.
Yeah, definitely. I was gonna go with my sub boost sync deck for sure. Then.
So yeah, if you're wondering, what if this ice is useless against shapers and criminals? Well, sub boost, problem solved.
Hmm.
Alright, so lovely ice aside, we have the reverse. Instead of a
Oh,
3/7, we have a
this thing.
7/3. So it's a 7 cost neutral sentry. So immediately you compare this to assassin. And nope. Just nope.
Compared to anything, what does this compare favorably to? I didn't, I didn't, I just don't get this ice.
No.
It's it's the runner's choice. It just seems like,
I mean,
yeah.
more than Shiashi, this really, really is all about the face check. Like, if you're not getting a face check out of this, you basically lost the game because you spent 7 credits on a piece of, I don't know. I don't even know what to call this.
And a serious face check too. Like they install Magnum Opus and decide to face check or something.
Well, but that's one of the first things you learn in Core Set Netrunner, right? Don't
Just don't
run
do
with just a manual
don't do
opus
that.
up. That doesn't sound like a very good idea. But yeah,
Or maybe Proco for a little less of a foolish move. Something, right? Something
yeah, that's one thing.
really expensive.
Yeah, this is one of the few eyes that can actually interact with resources. So you're right. This could punish runners that only run with a resource rig, thinking that they are safe from destroyers. Well, this is gonna punish them. That's about it.
That's about it. This ice is guilty, guilty, guilty. For sure.
Yeah, completely guilty of not living up to the hype. If there was any hype to begin with. I mean, it's a bit sad because it was hyped up technically. It is the cover art for the box, for the data pack, just like the last cycle. Which, by the way, do you remember what the last card of last cycle was? It
I
was
can look
also
at
the cover art for the data pack.
last card.
I'll give you a hint. It was a neutral court card, and it was equally, if not worse, than this. It was an agenda.
Oh, it was an agenda. Oh boy,
It was a 3/2
wasn't
agenda.
it that operation? Or
It was a 3/2 agenda.
oh, last cycle.
Yeah, last cycle. Oh, whoops. Yeah. Yeah, I meant cycle.
Oh, 3-2 agenda. Oh, okay. I can't remember the name now, but it was the one that cost an influence and
Yeah, it had
yeah.
beautiful art, just like this. And just
Oh, it
like
was
this.
Berger.
Yeah, it's
Yeah.
merger.
Oh my God. Yeah. No, it didn't cost. Yeah, it cost an influence and 3 pointers for the runner, right? Yeah.
I don't know which card is worse, Tribunal or merger. I don't know, honestly. I guess it's merger because it costs an influence, but dang, this is bad.
No, I would say Tribunal. I'd rather run Merger than Tribunal
Really?
because it's 3-2 is just so much better than a 2-4.
Oh
But
dear.
I think so. I think I would because when I res this for 7 and then it dies, it's so sad, right? Res it for 7 and I'll what? Get the trash to a street peddler or something?
Yeah. I mean, yeah, yeah, you're right about that. Oh man, I guess if there's one thing they're keeping up with the recurring theme of the last card of each cycle being complete utter disaster. But it's beautiful.
What gives them to look forward to in the next cycle? It's like it can only go up from here.
You wish. You wish.
Oh, the universe of tomorrow is futures now, which is
Oh, yeah, that's
ha-
okay.
had its time, but it's again 3-1.
It's not
Well,
the worst.
Earthrise Hotel supposedly in the previous one, but
It has been
anyway,
downhill from there.
yeah.
We can safely say that. Meaning that next cycle won't be any better. We can only
Oh my
speculate
God,
for
they're just
now.
gonna print a blank card that costs 5. Just
Uh,
call it equals or something. I don't know.
uh, it doesn't die to rumor mill, I guess. It's an upside, maybe. Well, so that wraps up our data pack review for now. And yeah, any final thoughts on this data pack as a whole?
Um, I mean, nothing too profound. I think it's a good pack. It has some pretty good cards. I mean, obviously we love Macrophage, and there's on the runner side there was some good cards. I'm like everyone else, Sifu or Sifu or Sif R or
We
whatever
don't
it
talk
happens to
about
be.
that here. Shh. Shh.
I know it's gonna cause me much hair pulling and angst like everyone
I
else.
don't think. Yeah, it's not
Um,
just you.
so we'll see how that all goes. So yeah, I think it was a middle of the road kind of data pack in terms of stuff people are going to play and interesting stuff and worrying stuff.
I mean,
A
yeah, there
little
are
bit of all.
some powerful cards, some weak cards. I just think that I mean, because most of the cards that we really interested in, like uh, Veritas to some extent, Chiashi and Macrophage, these are all ice. So I mean, inherently, you don't really build a deck around a particular
Right.
ice. So this
Yeah.
is why I guess we're not that hyped up about any particular card. But rest assured that all these cards will fit in some deck or another. And yeah, these cards, a lot of them will definitely see play. Yeah. So that's it for the pack review. Thanks again, Shane, for coming on.
Well, thank you for having me, and thanks for putting out all the great content very consistently, and very quickly that you always do. I always enjoy it. So
Yeah, no
thanks a lot.
problem. Everyone definitely wants to hear various insights on the new cards, and it's great to have you on for that. So, for those of you watching, thanks for sticking through, and thanks for watching. Happy net running, and goodbye.